This drawing tutorial explains how to draw a portrait of Ethan Torchio with pencil. Ethan Torchio is the drummer of Italian band Maneskin, and I'll be using graphite and charcoal pencils to draw him. This speed drawing video shows how to shade a pencil and charcoal portrait easy, but doesn't show the sketching process. If you want to know how I create sketches, check out my sketching playlist. To decide which value to add where in my pencil and charcoal portrait, I first like to identify the 5 main values in the reference photo. So the first step in the process of shading this graphite and charcoal drawing is to block in these 5 main values. I like to start by adding the darkest value first. For the darkest value, I like to use the Faber Castell Polychromos colored pencil 199 black rather than graphite pencil. That's because the colored pencil is darker and you can press hard with it without getting graphite shine. In addition to blocking the darkest value, I like to add the black polychromos to some of the main lines of the drawing so they don't get lost in the process. Colored pencil is harder to smudge and erase than graphite, so adding a light layer of black polychromos over some of the important lines ensures that they stay visible as I'm working on the drawing and that I don't accidentally move them. I'm using Strathmore 300 series Bristol smooth paper. The full list of materials is in the description. Next I add the second darkest value, which in this case is the 4B. I'm using Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils. Again, I just follow the reference photo and try not to worry about harsh transitions between values, since I will smooth them out later. Right now I'm just blocking in the main values. Once I'm done adding the second darkest value, I add the middle value, B. I'm making sure the pressure I'm applying isn't too hard or too light. I don't want to get graphite shine, but I also don't want the value to be too bright. Finally, I add the second brightest value, 3H. If you draw along, post your drawing on Instagram and tag me. The brightest value is the white of the paper, so I just leave it as is. The second step in the process of shading this graphite drawing is to smooth out transitions between the main values, add some variation within each of the values, and add details. In this step, I'm not working value by value like I've been doing so far. I'm working section by section. As you can see, I'm starting with the left ear and I'm using whatever pencils I need to smooth out transitions between values and add details. If I need to brighten something, I use Tombow Mono Zero Eraser. Once I'm happy with the ear, I move on to the jacket. I always like to work from top to bottom and from left to right to minimize smudging. If you're left-handed, you might like to work from right to left. The exception is the hair in the background, which I'm leaving for last. The hair because I will use charcoal pencil to draw hair, and charcoal smudges a lot and gets everywhere, so I like to leave it until the end. The background because I wasn't sure whether I would add it or not. I ended up adding it because it seemed like something was missing without it. Then I move on to the neck. I'm darkening the shadows, making transitions between values less harsh, and trying to make the drawing look 3D. After the neck, I move on to work on the face. The face can be a bit tricky with all the different elements you need to pay attention to. But if you follow your reference photo and if you blocked in the main values correctly in the first step, it shouldn't be too complicated. If something doesn't look right, compare your drawing with the reference photo and try to figure out what you can do to make your drawing look as similar as possible to the reference photo. If the values look off, you can bring the reference photo to your drawing to look at the values on the reference photo and on the drawing next to each other. It's best if you add the values right and smooth out transitions between them before you start adding details. If you have to go back to fix values and transitions after you've added details, you might end up losing some of the details and spending more time than needed on the drawing. You can see that principle as I work on the lips. I make sure all the values look right and that the base for the details is finished before I add the lines. To make sure the brightest values look bright enough, I use Lyra Kneadable eraser to brighten the parts of the drawing that should be the brightest. I always like to draw eyebrows towards the end so they don't get smudged or blended into the rest of the drawing. I'm using the black Polychromos colored pencil to get them as dark as they need to be. To make eyebrows look realistic, it's important to follow the direction in which hairs are growing. The hairs that are above the inner part of the eye grow upwards and may lean slightly to either side. The rest of the eyebrow consists of hairs growing from the bottom up and angled outward, and growing from the top down and angled outward. Before I add charcoal pencil to the hair, I add an outline around his earring, face, and jacket to keep the charcoal from smudging into those parts of the drawing. I also add the background before working on the hair because I want to leave charcoal pencil for last because of how messy it is. The background is simple. I just add a layer of B pencil and then blend it with tissue to make it look smooth and uniform. One last step before adding charcoal pencil is to erase the graphite that got where the hair will be. I'm using Pentel Clic eraser for precision. Finally, I add a uniform layer of charcoal for the hair using Ritmo Charcoal HB drawing pencil. I use the black Polychromos to add the fine hairs in places where hairs grow out of skin around the forehead, as well as the flyaway hairs over the background. Since I made this drawing portrait with graphite and charcoal pencils, I made sure to protect it with Ghiant Fixative spray to prevent it from smudging. Follow the link in the description to watch the full, almost 3-hour-long real-time drawing video that shows how I made this Ethan Torchio pencil drawing in detail and indicates which pencils I'm using at all times and allows you to draw along with me if you like. The description also contains links to the time-lapse drawing and the YouTube short speed drawing of this Ethan Torchio pencil portrait drawing video. If you like this video about how to draw a pencil and charcoal portrait, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more content about drawing. To watch more tutorials, check out my tutorials playlist.